One watch that really grabs my attention is the Rafael Nadal RM020. It takes something as delicate and refined as a tourbillon, typically associated with brands like Patek Philippe, and puts it in a watch that he actually wears while playing tennis. It's like a rebellion against the norm, saying, forget precious complications and delicate watches. Check this out, a backhand smash on your wrist. What's fascinating about this watch is its design. It's not your typical flat watch movement. Instead, it's deep and layered like an engine block. It hangs from the corners, serving as a shock-resistant system to protect the tourbillon. It's nestled in the deep engine bay of the tonneau case, and it's a sight to behold, especially if you're into cars or architecture. Now, for all the sports enthusiasts out there, they've used lightweight materials like titanium, lithium, aluminum, copper, magnesium, and zirconium in the movement. The movement itself weighs just 3.8 grams, making the whole watch, including the strap, a mere 20 grams. That's lighter than a bag of chips. Wearing a Richard Mille feels like balancing a bag of chips on your wrist while playing tennis. This watch embodies everything I admire about watchmaking. It's somewhat reminiscent of Hublot, but there seems to be a more deliberate purpose behind it, a clear goal they're striving to achieve. What are your thoughts on this timepiece? Yeah, I'm a fan of Richard Mille. I mean, they're a bit crazy, but if I had to nitpick, I'd say readability can be a challenge, but that's the trade-off for the incredible level of detail in their watches. Take, for example, the RM027 at the top. There's so much going on. You've got the main spring barrel and these two bridges or arms at 10 and 2, which is where the watch hands would usually be. It can get a tad confusing. I've even mistaken those for the hands before. What's the time? Oh, wait, no, it's not there. It's a bit of a head scratcher. They do dive deep into the mechanics of the watch, but that's a minor sacrifice for the mechanical marvel you're getting. One thing I'll give it credit for is the three-dimensional look on the wrist. You don't just glance at it straight on. You tilt your view slightly, and those hands rise above everything else, with brushed and polished edges, making them more readable in person than in photos. That's only fair, but I've tried one of these on. For instance, the Piaget Plano Ultimate Concept at just 2mm thick is one of those experiences you have to see and feel to believe. Surprisingly, it's not a massive watch, but the way the case back, including the sapphire, curves to hug your wrist gives it that second skin feel that Rafael Nadal often talks about. This watch is great. It's often called an expensive G-Shock, and I'd love to own one if I could afford it. Now, onto the RM69 by Richard Mille. Yeah, the number 69 might make you chuckle, but there's a reason behind it. I want to show you this watch for two reasons. First, have you seen it? Hold on, is this a luxurious Swiss mechanical love hearts generator? Exactly, it's quite an inventive piece, and it reveals two things about humanity. First, the existence of this watch where you press a button and those elements spin to create a unique phrase. It's a fascinating exploration of human imagination in all directions. It's like a playground for experimentation where you can create without fear of judgment. But on the other hand, when something like this exists and costs so much, it can make you wonder, are we all just too expensive to afford and too foolish to survive? Yeah, the paradox of this watch is striking, the complexity of the mechanism. It's a remarkable piece of engineering. For it to have a 69-hour power reserve with all that going on is truly extraordinary. It's both special and utterly absurd. This watch sparks wild imagination. Imagine this scenario. You're at a restaurant, can't decide on your order, and your watch settles the debate. Press a button and it declares, you're having pizza tonight. Convenient, but it costs a fortune. In the distant future, maybe there's an RM420 suggesting things like, let's blaze it up, discussing how to consume some probably illegal substance. So, thoughts? The first three Richard Mille watches caught your eye, but this cheeky one might interest you. We're both good looking, right? I might look like an egg with a face, but I'm quite a catch. Daniel Wellington, worth the hype or not? Keep it in the good pile. Disagreements are fine, we should all embrace agreeing to disagree. From cool watches to Daniel Wellington, misunderstood, right? Denial Wellington, as I jokingly call it, living in a dream world. Dream World DW. Wear it at your own risk. The logo's DW is flipped, maybe an homage to quirky beginnings. I suspect it started as a lemonade stand. The real origin story of Daniel Wellington is fascinating, almost as much as Vermont's. Philip Tysander, a Swedish entrepreneur, crossed paths with the captivating British gentleman Daniel Wellington during his global travels. Whether they met mid-hot air balloon flight or while Daniel was evading a boulder near a tomb is a mystery, but Philippe decided to start his own watch line, drawing inspiration from Daniel's impeccable style, and here we are. It's a quick, intriguing origin story akin to "I had a dream about it," or "I heard it in the wind," or "It was the headline of a newspaper." People find inspiration in various places, and this is no different. As for the watches, the classic Sheffield is a typical Daniel Wellington timepiece. It's a clean and minimalist dress watch with character. It proves that simplicity doesn't have to be dull, but some might argue it's too safe, inoffensive, and forgettable. Minimalism can be challenging. Simplicity should still possess character. These watches seem to lack that distinct character. They're not terrible, just unmemorable. The dial color is called eggshell white. Not exactly a color people actively choose, more like the default house paint. It seems like they took inspiration from an empty apartment, aiming for that just clean enough look to ensure you get your deposit back. However, there's one design flaw: the size of the Daniel Wellington logo. The script is fine, but the DW with a backward D feels overwhelming. Adding character to small details is tough, and you see hints of it in the hands. Skinny start, then they widen up much like a JLC. But then it all fades away, leaving the bold DW logo in your face. Some brands love to splash their names, hoping people think it sounds fancy. The common issue with these brands is their lack of identity or purpose, coming across as shallow and exploitative. People prefer a genuine origin story, but when it's manufactured, it feels cheap, like a Marvel film. As for hating the brand, it's hard to understand why people do, because at the very least, you have to feel something. There's nothing strongly dislikable here, it's just extremely inoffensive. Most of the hate might come from the brand's overexposure on Instagram, making people tired of it, and the uni pizza ovens phenomenon on YouTube, a lifelong growing hatred. But there is a niche of people who want something simple, affordable, and low profile, and these watches suit them. No ill will toward them. These brands might serve as gateways to the world of watches. People might start with them and then dive deeper into the hobby, realizing that everyone seems to dislike their choice. A bit of a trick, really. Well, there you have it. Watches that often receive their fair share of hate, but our verdicts remain inconclusive. What's your take on these brands? Do you share the dislike, or do you have a different perspective? Thanks for being here with us at Ventichic. Don't forget to like and comment on this video. Subscribe to our channel so you never miss an update. See you in our next video.